downfall came when the president of the organization called us to move his mother. So we moved his mother. We had a driver on the job who asked the mother about a tip. The mother got quite taken back about it, almost threatened by it, that if she didn't do it, what would happen. The president called me up and said, we're not going to use you anymore. He says, you're off our list. He said, my mother is, the dearest thing to me. She felt threatened and she felt scared. He says, it's not going to work. He says, well, I'm not going to use you anymore.
Hey guys, Jason Bergenske here. I have someone that I've known pretty much the first or second longest person I've known is my dad, Gary Bergenske.
There's somebody longer than me?
Probably Mom.
I was in there.
But anyway, super awesome that you're on here. Obviously, we've gotten the opportunity to work together over the years and grown a moving company that's been in our family for years. And so it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so kind of the whole goal of this is just to kind of give people something neat to listen to as far as the trumps and triumphs that we went through growing a moving company, running a moving company through our family.
And there was a lot.
And there was
a lot of funny stories, a lot of challenges.
Yeah,
a lot of successes.
Yeah, and so a lot of it is interesting because we always talked about how many characters have walked through the front doors of our office building or our warehouse there, and obviously I kind of grew up in the warehouse that we still own now that we just kept for storage, but that was the majority for 30 years. I guess we had
about 38
years on Kennedy Boulevard. But kind of to take it all the way back as far as when you came into the business with Grandma and where the business was then, which we used to rent. Obviously, I wasn't born yet. Rent a warehouse in Winter Park. So I'm 30. I'll be 39 this year. So it's kind of, yeah. How's that make you feel?
Old.
But anyway, let's kind of talk about that a little bit. Like back on, was it on Solana Avenue?
Back on Solana in Winter Park. We bought the moving company from somebody else.
Yep.
That had been in business for 17 years or so at that time. And they had rented the same spot all those years. So when we bought into it, we took it over, the lease, took over the business, and began working. He held the note, so it made it easy for us to get into it. And we were in business. And at the time, 1985, we were probably the largest independent moving company in Orlando area. Orlando was much smaller back then.
Yep.
And I really had a goal to get out of that rental place. I mean, it just I didn't like paying that rent every month, So we decided that we were going to try to find our own place, and that wasn't easy. And we ended up buying a piece of land, and 1 acre of land to start with, and then we built a building on there. So we were able to finance that and get it up. But it really brings into the fact that owning your own piece of property, your own building, really puts you almost into another business. You become your own landlord then.
Yep.
And the caveat is 10 years later, it was totally paid for. The mortgage was gone. And so that for the next 28 years of business, basically we had no rent, no mortgage. And that makes a big difference in your cash flow when you're able to set that aside and not have that. So it was a great business decision, separate from the moving company, to get into have our own real estate.
Running a moving company can be a challenge, especially when it comes to staffing during peak seasons. That's where Lion's Den booking service comes in. We understand the unique needs of moving companies and offer a solution that makes staffing easy and efficient. With Lion's Den, you gain access to a network of reliable professionals ready to assist you at a moment's notice. Our pay-per-minute model allows for flexible scheduling, so you only pay for the time you use. Let us do the hunting, booking, selling for you. And with dedicated support from our team, help is always just a click away. Sign up now and enjoy a 25% discount for the first 3 months of service. Take advantage of this exclusive offer to streamline your operations and maximize your profitability. Join Lion's Den booking service today and revolutionize the way you manage your moving business.
Yeah. And that's a big part. So like on Solana Avenue, which I've seen pictures of it, we'll probably post it on this. It's an old beat up, it was a warehouse, but in a series of probably 10 warehouses.
Yeah, it was a line of warehouses, probably 10 or 12 in there. And the building only set back from the road by, I would say, 25 feet.
Not enough for a truck.
So
barely.
Yeah. So when you had storage going in and out and you're bringing your storage containers out with the forklift, I mean, they would just fit there and then a truck parked on the street to be able to load and unload those.
Yeah.
And it was slanted. It was slanted down, I guess, for rain flow. So your crates were all sitting at an angle when you opened the doors of you had to hold the stuff in. But it worked, but it was very inconvenient. It just wasn't, didn't make for a smooth transition. Once we got in our new place, as you know, we had a big parking lot. We could set the crates out. It was all flat, and we could just really...
Yeah, we had room to park trucks inside when we needed to and everything else.
Worked good.
And that was kind of... So there was a picture I saw, and it was probably 20 years ago, and maybe you have it, but was of you holding me in a baby blanket, and I'm probably 6 months old or something, in front of where J&J, where our warehouse is now. It used to be all orange groves, which for you guys that are from Orlando or know our area, where it's off Kennedy Boulevard, which is near Eatonville. So Eatonville's kind of used to be a really kind of rough neck of the woods. But now it's turned into an amazing area.
Great area.
It's great.
It's developed. It's beautiful, and a lot of growth there, and a lot of good things. Where we are now, which was the Orange Grove, as you said, built around us now is a commerce center, 500 apartments across the street.
Yep.
Our property value has
it's
really skyrocketed
crazy
from when we bought it back in 1987.
I mean, the property originally for 1 acre was what, like $100,000?
$100,000.
And now it's worth millions. Yeah.
So it was a great investment. And, I tell people much of our success didn't just come from growing a moving company. Much of our success, and in fact, money-wise, cash-wise, the property was had a value worth more than the business at the end. So it was a great investment.
And we over time bought the acreage behind it also and turned that into truck parking, more truck parking and stuff like that. But that area, the neat thing about it is when you guys originally bought it, which obviously I wasn't part of it then, it didn't matter the specific type of area that it was in. It was that it was close to the interstate, which was what was important to us, I think, right?
Yeah, we were
close to I-4.
We were looking for a location near where we were, which the Winter Park addresses didn't work good. This is actually an Orlando address.
Yep.
And it was a frozen out orange grove area. And we were able to make a good deal there. But as you say, it was conveniently located, so easy to the interstate system.
Yep.
Easy to get in and out of. And it was turned out to be a great area.
When the area now is actually really nice. Like the fact that all growing up across the street, I'm not saying it's a terrible area, but it's just growing up, it wasn't the nicest area, but now it's a completely different. They're widening the road.
It's all different.
They've put in, like you said, I think 500 luxury apartments. They're still building more.
Yep, still building.
On the back part of our property is on a lake, which never really mattered to us back then, but now there's apartments all on the other side of the lake, luxury apartments. So, it's really turned into a piece of property that's made sense and made money. And then continue to rent out now spaces for truck parking, which I think which is kind of interesting, like talking about the different values of the property, right? So you bought the first acreage, which was road frontage, ready for a building to be built, like all that was $100,000 back in 85.
Right.
And then when did we buy the next acreage, which was behind it, which we could have bought at the original time, but we didn't.
Better. Yeah. So the first part, and we built the building on it, which is additional to the property cost, which worked great. But then we bought another acre behind that for another $100,000. It wasn't even road frontage, and that was just a few years later.
Yeah.
But still till today, that property is just dirt. It's just a big part.
And it probably brings in almost as much as we paid for it originally per year.
Yeah, not quite, but close to it. Yeah.
Just in truck parking.
Truck parking.
Yeah. Which is interesting. But so, and I think that was a big thing because I was a kid when you bought that second acreage behind us, and I remember when you knocked the fence down and stuff, which really widened up our property there, and made it make sense that during even what hurricanes it was, like Charlie and all that we had so much storage coming in that we needed places to be able to park semis worth of storage in, because we were doing emergency work and we wouldn't have had space for it otherwise.
But I think for any business, regardless if it be a moving company or whatever it may be, to have multiple streams of income coming in. We're not counting on just one. It's very beneficial to your success, to your longevity, and to your future and your retirement. So having the different incomes coming in and having that mortgage paid off after 10 years just made a whole difference, because then you can use your money for other things to grow, for growth.
Yeah. And then even the building we have now, or you still own, which obviously we ran the moving company out of for 38 years or whatever it was. MOVEITPRO started in there. We did a build out for MOVEITPRO's offices, which was, 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet in the very beginning. And then when we moved out and got this building, we were able to rent. So like you have rentals now all throughout that building, which is
so storage. We still have some storage in there from the moving company, but as they go out, we don't replenish them because we're not in the
moving industry anymore. Yep.
But we rented out a good portion of the warehouses and the office space, which again is just
it's income producing.
So,
and then so kind of go back to, because a lot of moving companies are going through a similar thing that we went through in 2008. Right now. And I think we're slowly coming out of it now, but with the interest rates so high, it's a different problem, because obviously back in 2006, 2007, the problem was they were giving loans to people that really couldn't afford them.
Right.
Was the problem there, which then led to the crash in 2008. Versus now, it's a similar problem, but different. It's the interest rates are so high that people don't want to move. So if people aren't moving, then there's no turnover for people to move.
Right.
And we went through that in 2008, which we watched probably half of our competitors go out of business. And how we survived that, which a big part of it was not having debt, or very minimal debt. And kind of how that was started, because obviously when we first built our building, we had debt, but the goal of getting it paid off and why we didn't, a lot of moving companies, they want to expand and buy more buildings or expand to different locations and stuff. And
so my philosophy was to have little debt. And it's a protection for when times get slow.
Yep.
So, for instance, we had a competitor in town that had it popped up, and they were really doing success. I mean, you'd think they were one of the most successful places in town. They had a number of brand new trucks. They bought all these new trucks. They were beautifully all wrapped and looking great. And when that 2008, 2009 came, and the economy stopped, they had all these new trucks they had payments on, and they had insurance on them.
Yeah, sitting in the parking lot.
And it wasn't long before they folded.
Yep.
As opposed to the way my philosophy is, we never bought, in 38 years, never bought one brand new truck.
Yep.
We always bought trucks that we had checked out, that were used trucks that we got, for a fair price.
The majority of our business was local.
Well, local,
granted.
So we weren't going long distance. And you take an older truck and clean it up and wrap it and get it all. It looks just beautiful, and it does a great job for what you need. But that being said, through rough times, if you're financially positioned where you don't have a lot of debt you're carrying, you don't have a lot of payments you're making, you're not making new truck payments, you are able to survive and get through the slow times without going out of business. And then when it picks back up, as you said,
you're in a lot better position.
We're in a better position because a lot of our competition didn't make it through those 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening now, because, even with us running, MOVEITPRO, we've seen some of these big companies going out of business, which is crazy, or downsizing and stuff like that. And these are ones similar to that we look at from the outside and how big they are and how amazing they are, and they got beautiful trucks and beautiful facilities, and they just went out and did all this stuff.
And then boom.
And as soon as the bottom drops out, they're in trouble.
They're not in trouble. So you got to protect yourself all the time in your business.
Yeah.
You got to have the vision to look forward. If things go flat, how long can I last? What can I do? Where can I pick up some other business to survive? And that's not just, again, not in the moving company. That's in any business.
Yep. And part of, the things we did, so we did long-term lease rentals with, like, Enterprise was who we worked with then. Not that there was anything wrong with Penske, but just the relationship was better with the Enterprise. And those ones we would get, it was a great thing, actually. They would actually deliver us a brand new truck. They were long-term lease, but we could pretty much cancel.
It was month-to-month lease.
They considered it long-term, so they'd allow us to wrap it. It was our truck. They didn't call it back, but when we wanted to turn it back in, we could. Yeah. And so normally we'd keep them for years, but, from the outside looking at it, it was our truck. but the payments on them were very, very little. And then obviously they managed all the repairs and maintenance and everything on them, which was nice.
And included the insurance. So it was a nice package deal.
Yeah.
And you could get out with 30-day notice. We could get out of it. So it wasn't like we had a truck we had a payment on, and
that you're stuck.
You're stuck with a long-term, or it was a month-to-month lease, but renewable monthly. We were able to have some nice vehicles, but times got slow.
Yeah,
turn it back in.
Well, and that was the whole thing. Like during 2008, when all those people bought brand new trucks. Prior to 2008, when 2008 happened, they're stuck with these trucks, and no one wants them.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't even sell them.
Yeah, no,
and so you can't get out from under them.
There's no need for them.
Yeah, and so that was a big problem that was solved with doing long-term rentals. Or I keep saying long-term rentals; they were month to month, but and we still had older trucks. I mean, we had I still remember we had a '94, which was a beast. I don't know, that thing probably had 500,000 miles on it over time. Obviously, we'd rebuilt it and stuff, but
it's a good furniture
looked
truck.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
full attic, side doors.
Yeah.
And we ran that thing rugged in the sense of, I mean, it went everywhere. Yeah. And for local jobs, which was the majority of the work we did, was for the most part always in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
We obviously did ones to Tampa and Miami and stuff like that, which those jobs we'd always send a newer truck. But if it was going to Winter Park, which is 5 miles away, delivering to Maitland, which is another 5 miles away, sending a $80,000 truck didn't make sense.
No.
When we had these other ones. Yeah. So, let's talk about the 94. Brings up an interesting thing. The walk boards. You remember the walk boards coming out? Someone didn't attach them good underneath. That 94 truck had walk boards that from the factory get attached underneath. And for those of you that have walk board trucks, goes under the belly. And I don't remember.
It's a clipboard.
Split boards,
and you put them in there, and you lock them in, and you padlock them. So,
yeah.
We had one driver that got a little absent-minded one day, I guess, and they forgot to put the padlock on there.
Yeah.
And coming down I-4, the two split boards come rolling out of the belly of the truck, and thank goodness nobody got in an accident or got hurt.
The truck ran over it, I think, first, and then no one got hurt.
No other cars hit it or something, but it could have been a disaster.
Oh, if a motorcycle would have been riding behind them or any vehicle.
So it ruined the walk boards, which cost a pretty.
Yeah, I mean, a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. But it was a lesson for everybody to be on point. Make sure you got things locked up.
Yeah. So, and then going through, like, obviously there's so many stories of guys. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of guys have worked for the moving company over the years. Some of them were there for 30 years and some of them were there for a half a day. It's funny because we'd almost get one of the funniest things I think that I realized in the moving industry with guys is you would sometimes get guys that come in that are super buff and like muscular and like fit, and you think they do really good, and you get them out on the truck carrying furniture and going up and down stairs, and sometimes they'd wuss out. Like, I mean, it's a different workout than what you're used to. But
it's hard work. Being on a moving truck is hard work.
Yeah, it is.
And the guys work extremely hard, and those that become professionals at it and stick with you and do it. I mean, they can put a load on a truck like you can't believe the way it all fits together.
Yeah,
the guy that really knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
and it's something to be really proud of. Both for them and for whoever they're working for, that they're taking care of things in the manner that they do to protect the customer's goods. And, it's a real trade.
Yep. And so, I mean, one of the things to talk about, which is interesting. So when you first got into it, when you came into the business, you and Grandma kind of were doing it together. And then, so during that time, the majority of our business was referral and Yellow Pages.
Yes.
Which Yellow Pages you think of, which I think when I first came in, we were slowly getting out of the Yellow Pages. But to give you like people an idea of 30 years ago, Yellow Pages, pretty much if you put an ad in the Yellow Pages, you were in business. Like your phone rang.
Yep.
It was as simple as that. If you could afford to get your listing in the Yellow Pages, that's where you kind of went from. And so like kind of explain the process of when we did the Yellow Pages, which we did a bunch of different ones. Right. We did different areas. And then where it started dipping, like as far as like we started realizing that things were changing to Google and online and stuff.
So Yellow Pages really, along with referrals and repeat customers, was the heart and soul of a business.
Yep.
Back in the 90s.
Yep.
And before, 80s, 70s probably. But the Yellow Page was what drove your business. And the more you could commit to spending money in the Yellow Pages with a bigger ad and more books, the more success each one of them could bring you a return. And, of course, the Yellow Page people were great at showing you, if you spend this much, you're going to get this much return. And I have to say, for the longest time, it pretty much was true. The more you spend, the more you get. And we moved up from, smaller ads up to, at one point, we had what they called a double truck, which was
double page.
Two pages that faced each other in the book. So when you looked at it, you saw nothing but our moving company. Yeah. And it cost about $8,000 a month back in the 90s for the Orlando book, which is extraordinary. But there was a good return on it.
Yeah.
As the internet began to grow, when we got into the 2000s, the Yellow Pages became not as effective.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, it was a scary situation because you're spending all that money for the Yellow Pages and you go, if I turn it off...
You can't just turn it right back on.
Yeah, you can't turn it back on. You turn it off, it's off for a year. And what if I'm getting a lot more from it than I think?
Then you realize, yeah.
And...
Attention, moving company owners. Are you tired of managing your business with spreadsheets and pen and paper methods? Do you want to streamline your operations, increase your bookings, and look more professional to your customers? Then it's time to switch to MOVEITPRO software. Our cloud-based platform provides everything you need to manage your moving company in one place, from booking and dispatching to payment processing and customer communication. Plus, with features like GPS tracking, real-time notifications, and detailed reporting, you'll be able to optimize your operations and take your business to the next level. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.moveitpro.com to schedule a free demo today and see how we can help you move your business forward.
We probably carried it a couple years longer than we should have.
Yeah, I remember us slowly,
But we gradually did it, and you monitored the book because you saw what other people were doing. There were a lot of people dropping out. There were a lot of people shrinking in size. So we began shrinking the size of our ads.
A lot of the big ones stayed in it far longer.
Way too long.
Yeah.
But as you start shrinking the size and your business doesn't change, it kind of tells you that,
you realize,
if you go, you drop the ad from 8,000 to 4,000, right?
Yep.
And your business stays the same. What's that tell you? You just put $48,000 in your pocket. You save.
Yep.
And in a business, there's a lot of, you can make money on what you earn, and you can make money on what you save.
Yep.
Two ways you make money. So we were able to save money, and we were in a number of outlying around the Orlando area.
Yeah, Lake County and
all counties. And every little book there was within 50 miles around.
Yep.
And we'd buy a phone number in that area, which was remote call forwarded to our office in Orlando, and people thought, we were actually local, which we were local. We sent the trucks out and do it. But we gradually did it. And when you think back how business worked going through those ages, those times, in the 60s when I was a little kid, the way that we would pick out what we wanted for Christmas was Mom would get us a Sears and Roebuck
cabinet. You need to circle what you wanted.
And each one of us, there's three of us kids there, and each one of us she'd get each one of us Sears and Roebuck catalog, and we'd go through there and we'd circle what we wanted for Christmas, ideas that we wanted. And today, Sears and Roebuck is out of business.
Yeah.
Because they didn't change.
Yep.
They kept the catalog, and they never changed over to the internet.
Yep.
Amazon and others
took over. Yep.
Started new and changed and took their business away.
Yeah.
If we still had the moving company and still had Yellow Pages only and didn't have a website,
would have been out of business.
We'd have been out of business.
Yep.
So the lesson is, in business, you have to be able to find change, accept change, and do change.
Yep.
Because if you do that, then you're going to find the success of the new way.
Yep.
And if you fail to do that, you're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
So what are the next changes coming? Who knows? As you know, back then, everything we did was on paper.
Yeah.
You know, we had the telephones with the little push buttons. We had 5 lines. You know, you push a little button.
Yeah.
And you could put them on hold, and it pop up and blink, right? So,
Yep.
But the times changed. We don't do it on paper anymore.
Yep.
Those that do it have lost the ability for a CRM. They've lost the ability to keep track. They've lost the ability to keep all of their automation put together. So that's another change. You know, if we were still doing it that way, we probably be gone. You know, I mean, we've sold out.
Hard to compete.
Yeah, hard to compete. So there's so many things when you think about any business. We're talking about moving companies, but you got your rock hard business of trucks and people and moving, right? And I still say I don't know that the moving guy that goes up and down the stairs with the refrigerator will ever change. I don't think that part.
Yeah. No robots are taking over.
No AI can change. But the part of owning some property, the part of changing with automation, and who knows what the next thing.
As time goes on, GPS tracking was a huge thing. When we first got GPS tracking, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Actually knowing what's going on.
Well, when we got the way to give them the directions, we'd print out
MapQuest.
MapQuest, and we'd print it out on paper. Before that, we had to talk to the customer and get, go down this street, turn right. Go this street, turn left.
Yeah, I remember that being on the order form or on our estimate form. And then we had
MapQuest, which we could print out the directions. Then eventually, right, it transformed into everybody that had a cell phone.
Yeah, it was easy for them.
It just had. So we never even got directions.
Well, I remember having in the warehouse, we had a map that was like 8 foot long. It was like 4 foot by 8, a sheet of plywood that was of our local area that we could literally look at when you're trying to dispatch guys in the morning, telling them where they're going at, right?
Yeah, when they had this handwritten direction, they'd go to the map and they'd find it there on the map, where they're going. So they kind of had an idea, But
bringing up one of the points about companies changing, it's really interesting. One of the biggest ones that points out to me, like companies that didn't change, was Blockbuster. Like being a kid, like that was on a Friday night, that was our thing. Like we'd go to Blockbuster and you'd pick out 2 movies, right, for your 3-day rental. Blockbuster was, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue they did, thousands of locations. And to see that they went out of business by streaming companies like Netflix is crazy to think of. And like there's actually a documentary on about Blockbuster now that in the very beginning of like Netflix coming out, they saw Netflix and they thought it would never work. And they had the opportunity to do streaming. Mm-hmm. Blockbuster was the huge conglomerate company that did videos.
Then they had the money to do it.
They had the money, they had everything, the resources, they had the name that they could have went to these production companies and gotten streaming and doing all that. And they didn't change. And they literally lost their business. All those people that were employed by Blockbuster gone. The executives, they lost everything
because of fear.
Yeah,
just like I said, I had a fear of cutting back the yellow pages. There's a fear factor in there. If I mess up and do the wrong thing, how bad is it going to hurt me? Yeah. So you take it kind of in baby steps. You don't cut it all off at once. But if you don't change, things will be be bad for you.
The talking about guys. So like back in the I guess it would be in the 90s, before cell phones, dispatching guys was fun, to say the least. We had to give them pagers. You remember that?
Oh, yeah, pagers.
We had to pay for pagers for all the drivers. And they started off with the ones that, in the very beginning, they were just normal pagers where you could only put a phone number. But then you guys got fancy and got the ones where you could type a message. It's like a text message, but to the page.
Yeah.
So we could, but like thinking about how much easier it is now for these movie companies to dispatch guys, like you can call them, you can just text them and say, "Hey, work tomorrow at 7:30," right? That was a struggle for us that we didn't even realize was a struggle back then because it was just how we did business.
It was just normal day.
Yeah. So like the rebranding and stuff of our company. So I guess from the very beginning when we got the company with Grandma, it was 2 moving companies we bought, which originally was J&J Moving and Storage and Metro Moving and Storage. So you rebranded it back in 85, I guess, would have been 85, which we combined the 2 companies together that we purchased. Talk about that a little bit. And then obviously we rebranded, I don't know exactly what year it was, but it was probably like 2010 or 11 when we changed to the red trucks.
So originally we bought it J&J and Metro, so we combined the two names. They actually were side by side in that little
Two friendly
down there, and two friends. So the trucks then were we didn't have vinyl letters like they have today,
hand painted,
and wraps like they do today. They were hand painted.
Yep.
And they were not hand painted by really professional painters, because the letters were kind of, I don't know, they just were kind of ugly.
This wasn't just us. This was all trucking companies.
Yeah, I mean, there were wraps and vinyl letters and stuff now is normal.
Yeah. And it's quick. Back then, you had to drop your truck off and leave it with them for a week.
Yep. So they had their kind of theme, which was ivory color and red letters. And we soon changed, when we changed the name to combine the names, we went to white.
We did the logo.
White trucks. We came up with a new logo. We kind of really dressed them up. And that worked for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
20 years probably.
We had white trucks because back then, even when you rebranded, there was no real thing of full vinyl wrapping.
Yeah. So
when you first rebranded, it was you get vinyl letters where they'd come cut out and put it up there. But they didn't have what we have now, which is literally where you wrap the entire truck.
So white, we went with white because most trucks were white when you bought them.
Yep.
And originally we had a guy that hand painted them, and he had our thing in our scheme, and we'd have to drop the truck off down there at his paint shop for a week. Take him a week to paint both sides of the truck and the doors and your name and all the stuff on it. And like I say, it had nothing to do with the professionalism that trucks have now with the maps. So in 2010 to 12 in that area, then we came out with a new branding, which you really developed and got it going, and changed our trucks to red from white for red, because red just really popped more.
It was one of our colors that we used. Yep.
And we began totally wrapping the boxes on the trucks, and the doors were done very professionally with vinyl letters and our logo, and it really stepped up the way trucks look. Not that our trucks before didn't look good based on the time.
No, sure. Yeah.
But times changed, and when times changed, we had to step up our game.
Yeah.
Which actually was an easier game, because you could order the wraps.
Yeah.
We actually were pretty expensive to buy, and then really expensive to install. And
we got good at wrapping. We got good at
installed the wraps ourselves, and it saved.
Yeah, we'd order them from Banner Company in China that did amazing. Actually, they did a phenomenal job. Print them on 3M, same as if we ordered them locally. And we could wrap, aging in a little bit, but this is 10 years ago or so. We could wrap a truck, the materials and labor and everything, for maybe $3,000, $3,500, something like that. I think we spent a couple grand for the wrap, and then we probably had $1,000 in labor over.
And we had no downtime.
Correct.
Because we did it when we were slow. So we don't get one side of the
one
wrap,
half of the truck would be wrapped
and make some money, and then the next day wrap the other side. And
yeah, but we had a couple guys that got good at it too, and helping wrap them and stuff.
So that was good. It was, again, changing with the times as to what we're doing.
Yeah. And so part of, talking back about employees, we had some guys that worked for us for a long time and that were awesome employees. And kind of to talk about, so the good things were some of these guys we became lifelong friends with. Mark, we still are very close with. Part of it was, there was rough guys too. And we went through a lot of the turmoil of finding good crews. And so one of the relationships we have was with, you probably know where I'm going with this, but so we used to do a lot of work for, and I think we moved, was it the mother-in-law of the CEO?
Really good relationship. Any type of account like that you have repeat business continue from is a great account to have. And whether it be a bank or a savings and loan, they're moving people around all the time. They use us for their big moves. They call us.
They call us if they need to move a desk from one side of the room to the other, because they won't do it because of liability for their employees.
It's just really good ongoing work. We had a great relationship. They did not call any other movers.
They didn't rarely ask for price. It wasn't about price.
It wasn't about price. It was about being available on short notice and doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fulfilled that for a number of years. The downfall came when the president of the organization called us to move his mother.
Yeah.
Because he trusted us.
Yeah.
And because he knew we'd do a good job.
And his his mother's 70s, something like that. Something, yeah.
But he trusted us and so on. So we moved his mother, and we had a driver on the job who had been with us, quite a long time. Asked the mother about a tip.
Yep.
Which we've always instructed them to never do.
Yeah.
That's something if people want to do it at the end of the job, great. But he asked the mother about a tip. The mother, you got these three big burly guys in there moving their furniture. Yeah. Got quite taken back about it and almost threatened by it, that if she didn't do it, what would happen.
Yeah.
And she was there by herself. And she became almost fearful.
Yep.
So after the move happened, the president called me up and said, we're not going to use you anymore. He says, explain what happened. He says, you're off our list. And so I asked him, I said, well, can I come talk to you about it? And he said, if you want to stop by. So I went by and talked to him about it, and he was just set in his way.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Which is understandable.
He said, my mother is, the dearest thing to me, and she felt threatened, and she felt scared, and he says, it's not going to work. He says, well, I'm not going to use you anymore. That was the end of that job. That job was generated year after year after year, consistent income.
Huge account. That's a huge account.
Just like that. Snap of a finger, because somebody did something stupid.
Yep. And it was something that we had a policy that you don't ask customers for tips. In fact, it was on our paperwork. Like, gratuity is not required.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the moving industry, we know that, over half people typically give you gratuity, but that's not something you expect. We paid our guys a good hourly wage. We paid them probably more than most moving companies did. And putting someone in that situation is rough. And that was, obviously that was one of many, not about tip necessarily, but one of several things of running crews and guys that's just frustrating to deal with, because there's nothing you can do to fix it.
Right.
Yeah. So, and we moved courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. So when, I was young, so I don't really
remember. Yeah, that's a big move. That was a big move. And they, it was a double move, because they had building a new building.
Yeah.
And the other building they had to be out of. And so we moved them into a building that was about a block away in downtown Orlando. And nothing went on the truck. It was about a 2-week move. Nothing went on the truck.
Everything
went on dollies and rolled down the sidewalk. We could roll it down the sidewalk and get it up to the new office quicker than we could put it on a truck, drive the truck down there and unload it. So it was it was a really great job. And then a year or so later, when the new building was done, same thing again. Just a great, really big move. And big office moves like that, some people get scared of them. I mean, it was a price.
We loved them.
We got lucky, fortunate that we got the bid.
Yep.
And big office moves run correctly can be a lot easier than a house.
You got to have a good crew, and you got to have a good leader out there. That's especially one like that. I don't know how many guys we had on that one, but we'd do some office moves where we'd have 15 guys on.
Yeah, there's probably 20 guys down there, because we were bringing down the elevators out of the one building. And had 8-10 guys on the sidewalk.
Yeah, you set up a train essentially. You got some guys just staying up on the elevator, running stuff up and down. Some guys getting stuff from point A to point B, and then they hand it off to the next guy.
Yep.
And you gotta have, and that was the biggest thing, which we did good with, is having really good crew leaders out there. Yeah. If you don't have good crew leaders out there, you might have 20 guys, but 5 of them are in the bathroom all day.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck out there. All hands on deck.
Yep.
And have our key people out there.
And so that was neat that we did that, and then obviously we did more stuff. I think we did some stuff for the FBI, which was neat. We did County Sheriff's Department, which is a customer of ours for, God, I don't know, 20-something years. Let's talk about them a little bit. As far as, the work that we did for them, most of it was for levy stuff, and some of the interesting stories we have that came out of doing this.
Well, they're levies. So we would meet the sheriff's deputies at the location, which they would give us, a week or two ahead, Let's
explain a little bit. Most people probably know what a levy is. So we would get hired and brought in by the sheriff's department when someone would essentially sue someone else, and the judge would order that person to have to pay them, and they didn't pay. So usually this is a situation where they owe $500,000 to $20 million to someone. Most of them were business owners or people that were con men that ripped people off or something like that, where the court system says you need to pay the person that you took money from or whatever it is, but they just don't pay it. So the sheriff's department would bring us out. We were the only company that did it for them. They trusted us to do it. Same situation. We always showed up, usually with short notice. We showed up, there'd be a bunch of deputies there. We became really good friends with most of the deputies. And we are there under court order to take everything in that business, the house, or whatever it was. So, but yeah, go ahead.
So we'd show up there, and we'd show up along the deputies, and they'd have a locksmith there.
Yep. And tow trucks. And so if they had cars.
Tow trucks. We're here to get everything. And then knock on the door and give the person a chance to either pay up or they're going to remove their stuff.
Yeah.
Probably in half of the cases, they paid up.
Or they'd file immediate bankruptcy.
File bankruptcy immediately, yeah. So half the time we just went there and hung around.
They'd pay us a waiting fee for
sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we'd be there a minimum 3 hours. We charge them, but sometimes we'd be there 5 or 6 hours while they're negotiating the thing.
Yeah.
Those that didn't pay, or those that weren't home at the time, the locksmith would open the door, and we'd do an inventory, and we'd remove everything and take it back to storage.
Yep.
Some of these were not for the big numbers that you were talking about. Some of them were smaller numbers, but
sure.
But people were just so mad at somebody, they didn't care what it cost, because the person that's suing has got to pay the.
It's almost the majority. The majority of the time, I think, the stuff that we would take from people would almost never equate to what the person was owed. It normally was someone got ripped off or someone owed the other person money, and they're so mad about it that they just want to get them.
Yep.
And they just want to teach them a lesson. Yep. Almost is what kind of would come to. Yeah.
And they'd take it, and then we'd store it, as it went through the court process, and eventually some of the people ended up paying it and get their stuff back. Some of them didn't, and then the sheriff would come and auction it off in our back parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
and some of those we did. I mean, some of them were mansions. We moved in Isleworth, which is probably one of the wealthiest areas here in Central Florida. But that was the one that ran the hotel, I think, and that is just big homes that. It's interesting going in those people's homes and knowing that they owe all this money.
Yeah. And maybe I'm sure when they got in there, everything was good, but it's like things looks up here. There's ups and downs in business, and if you got a lot of debt, your business gets soft, things don't work out good for you. So keeping that low debt and keeping a vision of where you're going keeps you out of trouble financially.
Yep. And so as we ran J&J, so I came in around, technically, I was there when I was a baby, right? I was.
You were like in the way, getting a 4-wheel dolly with a rope around it and riding it up and down the warehouse floor and doing all kinds of stuff, taking things apart he couldn't put back together. It was a mess.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of fun though at that warehouse. I mean, and before we go into the next subject, but like we had, you and I had this thing where we would always buy old vehicles and fix them up. So you and I both love cars.
Yeah.
We love trucks and boats and things like that. But as a kid, some of the oldest memories I have, which I don't know would have been the first one, was the fire truck we did, or it would be the fire truck, I think.
Yeah.
So my dad bought a 1964 American LaFrance fire truck. And that was our project for a year, probably.
A
couple years fixing up.
My friends all tease me, your mom didn't buy you a fire truck when you were a little boy, so you bought a fire truck.
Bought a full-size fire truck, which carried Santa in it year after year for parades. Actually carried a deceased firefighter in the back while we owned it, because I think the situation, is if you die in the line of duty, real fire truck, active duty fire truck will be able to take you to your cemetery. and he had died outside of the line of duty.
Yeah.
And so we had donated our fire truck, which was amazing. I mean, the honor to be able to do that. But this beautiful old fire truck, taking that and draped in black, and I think it was really memorable for something that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously that fire truck was also in the movie Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes on the cover of the VHS tape to age it a little bit. Was in another movie with Fargo, or what was the other one it was in?
I can't remember.
It was in a couple.
It's in 2 or 3.
Yeah, Passenger 57 was the biggest hit with Wesley Snipes. But so that was really neat. It was on the side of it, and we'll probably be able to show a picture of it, but on the side of it said for the city was Bergenskeville, Florida. And had J&J Metro's branding on it. After that, got a 1930 Model A. I think we fixed up.
Yep.
That one did not run when we got it. We had our truck mechanic, old Gene, who redid the entire engine, got that thing running.
We stripped it right down to the frame and rebuilt it.
Into a Huckster Model A, which is really neat. Also branded for our advertising for J&J. We had a hearse ambulance, which back in what year was that?
61.
A 61 hearse ambulance, which back then in a small city or small town, the ambulance was also the hearse. They could put on top of the hearse, it looks like a hearse. On top of the hearse, they could put the lights.
Yep.
They would just attach right on top, plug in, had the siren and everything. And it looks like, we'll be able to show it too, but looks like the vehicle from Ghostbusters.
That's what it looked like.
That's what it looks like.
Today, nobody thinks about it, but back then, a van, this small van as we know it, had not even been invented yet. You know?
Yeah.
Station wagons were the thing. And ambulances as we know them today with, care inside and everything.
Didn't have that.
So back in the 60s when this thing was made, pretty much it was a car accident. It was a scoop them up and run them to the hospital. There was really no medical care. So the back of that ambulance hearse changed from rollers to roll a coffin in, or they
flip over and then turn into bucket seats for
flip up seats, so a gurney could go in with a technician, some sort EMT to ride with them to the hospital. But there was no medical care given.
Yeah,
and that's the way it was back in the early 60s. Today, I mean, they can do all kinds of things. I mean, an ambulance before it even loses the scene.
Yep.
We are
the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of experience, being able to network with other moving company owners, share experiences.
And being able to bounce ideas off of each other and gain knowledge and wisdom from everybody else's experience. And we know that we're going to take home.
That's the best experience I've had in a while. Thank you.
I think the number one thing I learned was just even more revenue streams you can get.
If you're a mover and you don't come to these retreats, you're crazy. Because the knowledge that you'll gain, not only from learning from Gary and Jason, who ran a big moving company, but it's the other people that come here that you can share ideas with. And all ideas are good. And if you just go home with one, just one, you're better off. It's worth all the money that you could ever pay for. Get down here, enjoy it, have a great time, and learn and grow your business.
And then we had some other neat vehicles, but that was part of the things that we always did at the warehouse, and that was.
But we branded them too.
Everyone was branded.
Their logo on it and the J&J Metro.
Yeah, if you came into our warehouse, though, the aisles would be lined with the fire truck, the ambulance, the Model A. We had, I don't know, there's tons of other. The Tornado we had the Ranchero truck. I mean, we had a bunch of neat vehicles. But it was just neat that was part of the stuff that the moving company allowed us to be able to do, too, because we probably wouldn't have been able to do all those things despite the aspect of the money, but the storage and of being able to keep them.
But it was something that kept us busy, and it was something that, that fire truck for several years, every morning we'd pull that out and park in front of our building.
Yeah.
And people didn't know where the moving company was, but they knew where the fire truck was. You just said, it was the old fire trucks parked out front there. They knew where we were.
Yep.
And then they, it was just really good for advertising and awareness of our name.
Yep. So, and talking about, so this one's maybe a little more touchy, but over the years, one of the hardest things for us to do was keeping and retaining good management. And it was one, I mean, you had one manager there, which was amazing for 15 years. And some of it may have been our fault, who knows, right? But that particular manager was with you for, I think, 20 years. And the last 5 years was really rough. And then it was just part of the struggle of running a business and scaling it that I think a lot of any business, not just moving companies, but you struggle with. And so a lot of those things can fall back on the business owner. Maybe we didn't give good enough training or instructions or set the right expectations, right? But some of them is as time goes on with any company, people get lax.
They get lax, and they get unfortunately,
the entitlement,
a form of entitlement. That I've been here a long time and do it. But if everybody just focuses on the success of the company, it's not about the owner, it's not about the manager, it's not about the brand new guy that just started. It's about focusing on the success of the business. It's about keeping your eye at taking care of customers. It's all about customer service and protecting the name. It's not about one individual, including the owner. And if you do that, then you find success.
And that's a really good point. And I think that was, something that we struggled with for a while, and then we'd hire some really good people, and things would change.
All companies do. I mean, and you're right in saying that. Part of it is the owner's responsibility to nurture those things, and as an employee too, you have to look at it from their side. They get to a point sometimes where they feel like they're being taken advantage of and they're not appreciated. And if they get that feeling, that's a responsibility that falls back on the owner or the top manager, that he is not making them feel appreciated. Once somebody becomes in a mindset of not feeling appreciated, their productivity goes down.
It's going to go down.
And it's a balancing scale all the time to try to make them feel appreciated. Everybody feels appreciated. Valued. They feel valued. Then they'll be top performers. If some of the things fall by the side, production goes down, attitudes go down, success goes down.
Sure. So, and then we mentioned earlier a little bit about how J&J used to do everything originally was pen and paper. So that's how you came into it. And I think it's funny. I don't think most people realize truly what we mean by pen and paper. Like the hard thing, and I remember when I first came in, the workflow of, so obviously we're in an office building, a warehouse office. We're not just running from home, right? And so we had our bill of ladings were hand typed on a typewriter, which the secretary did. We had an amazing secretary. Susan worked for us for 20 something years. I was a child when I started there, and then worked with her all the way up until her retirement. Absolutely amazing. But, and then we had filing cabinets for all the different status of what a customer was. So we had the booked area, which was I don't know, what do you call it's a folder, but I had dates. So let's kind of go back. So a customer first calls in. We had a notepad, which was called an order for service. And we would handwrite their first name, their last name, their phone number, where they're moving from and to. We would briefly take somewhat of an inventory of what they're moving. And then based on our experience is how we would give them an estimate. And we would do it on the fly. We'd have a calculator at our desk. And we would guesstimate, which usually was pretty accurate. You're going to need 3 guys in a truck. That is, whatever per hour. It's going to take us 3 to 4 hours. This is your estimated price, right? And if that customer didn't book right then, they're going to check with their husband, whatever the situation was. We would then write our name on the order for service. And then as soon as we get off the phone, we would have to get up, walk to the receptionist area, put it in the filing cabinet under their last name. Now, that doesn't sound so bad. The funny thing, though, was when the next day, that same person calls back and they say, oh, I already got an estimate. Oh, sure. Hold on 1 second. Let me put you on hold. Let me go get your paperwork. And we'd have to go find their paperwork, which many times would not get filed properly. And then we would have to we'd get the paperwork, we'd go over the estimate with them again, and now they're ready to book. Well, we didn't have a calendar online. So we said, oh, hold on a second. Let me go check the calendar.
Big black book.
We had a big black book that was over in the same room, a different room than where you normally were, but in the same room with the filing cabinets. And you'd go over there and you'd flip through that book and you'd find the day and you say, oh, shoot, we're booked for that day. So you'd find a day before, day after that's available. You'd go back, you'd tell them. So anyway, it just created, which for 40 years we ran that way and it was not a problem, but it definitely was a bottleneck. Now, when you look back on it, that's how we operated to now with software.
The best way to operate it.
It was the best way. Well, I think, and the funny thing is when we first started developing MOVEITPRO, while we're totally open to doing a software, but it was like, but we've done it this way for 40 years. We've made millions of dollars. We've paid off building. We have a vacation home. We have all these things. We don't need that. Like we've been successful, right? But what
fear of change?
The fear of
change.
And so, like, how was it switching? Because obviously you're older generation than I, obviously. Like, because you then started using MOVEITPRO in the very beginning. J&J was the original test subject for MOVEITPRO, which it's come a long way since even then. But in the infancy of us switching and being able to pull up a calendar and see what was there, being able to be at home and look at what was tomorrow and things like that.
Those big change. But it takes, again, it's change, fear of change. And once you get over that fear, and you get over it by beginning to use it, you find acceptance, and then there you go. Pretty soon you're getting involved in it, and you learn more and more about it. But the product of going from handwritten to on a computer that can be accessed from anywhere in the world is a difference between night and day in what you can do. And it's not just about the scheduling the move. It's about scheduling the employees, everything about it. Cash flow, it's about everything. All right there on your phone if you so wish. So go back to Kmart and Sears out of business.
Yep.
It's one of those things, that you have to do. You have to do change.
Yep. And so as time went on, we continually evolved from that, and we got dispatching. We were able to switch to in the very beginning, we didn't use tablets for estimating or for bill of ladings, but we had automated so that we could print out the bill of ladings, which was huge. There are 3-part forms. We were able to throw away the typewriter. I feel like a little part of you died when we had to throw away the typewriter. Susan definitely struggled with that. Susan had done it for 20 years and used that process. So, and part of one of the things I think that is interesting and was for me growing up in the business, and obviously seeing what had been built with the moving company and the things that we had and a nice home and nice office and stuff, that a lot of these, one of the things that I always thought was interesting is that no matter what happened in the company, we never turned a job down. For the most part.
I can tell you, for 38 years,
we never missed a job.
We never failed to show up in a job.
Yeah.
We may have been late.
Yep.
But we never failed to do a job. And that goes to a credit of the people we had working for us.
Yeah.
If one crew got in trouble out there and they're running late,
bail each other out,
and one other one got in early, we need you to go out there and help them. Sometimes there'd be some resistance. And the answer to that was, the next time it might be you.
Yes, that needs help.
Job that needs help. And do you want them to come help you?
Yeah.
And we had this agreement, and so they would help each other. And we, in 38 years, never failed.
And there's times that we would go out there. I mean, that was the whole thing. Yeah. And we had this thing that for the 99.9% of the time, even if we had a slam day, we would try not to turn down a job.
Right.
Because when the winter comes, you're dying for jobs. And the moving industry obviously is very seasonal. We were very lucky that we had storage, which helped us a lot during the slow time. But it was one of those things that, would we survive without that extra $800 job for today? Absolutely. Like it wouldn't. But it was the fact that we had a mindset that we don't turn jobs down.
No, we don't turn them down. And it seemed the Lord looking after us all the time. But if somebody wanted to go on next Friday and we were fully booked,
we could move around.
We'd try to get them to go, Saturday without the extra charge for the weekend, or Thursday. If they couldn't, we'd put them on there anyway.
Yep.
Because by the time we get the next Friday,
someone would move.
Probably somebody's closing wasn't going through, or they couldn't move that day, or something would happen. And we always made it work. And sometimes it was because some other job changed.
Yep.
I don't know how it always worked, but it just always worked.
It always,
We always had kind of this little saying, that book, black book you're talking about, the pages in it, every day you turn the page.
Yep.
You start all over again.
Yep.
The next day you turn the page and start all over again. But on those days that were crazy busy, something would happen to make it work. We'd get some extra help in there, would make it work.
Yep. And that was part of, us running crews every day was probably, for me, was probably the toughest part of the business. Getting the jobs wasn't the toughest. Dealing with the customers, don't get me wrong, could get tough, especially when reviews and stuff came out like that, because I felt like some customers would try and blackmail you even when they had a good job.
Right.
But our biggest thing was always crews and making sure guys showed up, making sure that and so I just want to talk a little bit about that as far as, obviously we mentioned the guy earlier about the tip. I will tell you this, out of the hundreds of guys we've employed, we had amazing guys.
Amazing guys. Great.
Amazing. So talking about these couple, it's because they're ones that stick out and it's interesting. It's not to set the focus of that we just had terrible guys, because that's not it.
No.
But
I had great guys. But like I always said too, if you could keep consistently good people, the whole
so smooth,
job
so much smoother,
much better. And it wasn't always their fault. Sometimes it was our fault.
Sure.
You get some really good guys and you hit a slow time and you can't give them the hours they need that they're used to.
Yeah.
Because there's not any jobs in it. So that puts them in a bad position.
Sure.
Because we don't have enough jobs booked. In the slower seasons, you kind of cut back and you make sure you keep your best leaders plenty of hours so they can get through the slow time.
Yep. And there would be times we'd have 4 drivers out on one job.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make sure they got the most hours and take care of them, even though it costs us a lot more money because they're making more.
The drivers are making more per hour.
Than a driver.
We'd send three
drivers
out there rather than the driver and 2 helpers, which was the company would make more money.
Sure.
But we had to protect those guys that were our key employees.
Yep.
Even if it cost us.
Yep.
Because down the road, it was going to get busy again.
Yep.
And when it got busy, we need those leaders. So employees were, we had some really good guys. I was younger than you when I bought that business. I was 30 years old. It's 40 years ago now.
A couple of years.
Those guys that worked for me way back in the beginning, very few are still around.
Yeah.
There's some really hard workers, and they got older and they couldn't do that anymore. And we keep in touch a little bit. That stop by every once in a while and check on me, let me know they were still kicking.
I mean, all the time we'd see them. They'd come in but the times were a little different too. Like, so back then, I remember J&J. So like as a kid growing up, a lot of those guys would hang out at the warehouse after jobs. We had basketball hoops for them to play basketball. We had after jobs, but they had a picnic table out by the pond where they'd all sit back there and have a 12-case of beer, 6 guys after the job.
Yeah.
But, they'd hang out and they'd have that camaraderie, which some of them I think was
well, some of them I think not we, but the company.
It was a family.
It was their family. It was kind of like their away from home family.
Yep.
And when you are able to nurture that, then you become, you're able to have people that become very loyal to you.
Yep.
Because they feel like they're part of it.
Yep.
They're loyal to it.
Yep. And there's a handful of them that over the years, many of them retired or stopped doing moving anymore, but they'd come visit us every year, every 6 months. Yep. Which is really neat. And some of them had passed away. We've been to their funerals and been, which is rough because those are guys we knew. AJ, we knew I knew him for 20 years, and him passing away was rough, And And it's, some of the interesting stories that we have, and I think just kind of we'll leave on these two, but the first one being the driver that came back in the truck looks like a can opener. And the story of that one when he came back.
You got a picture of that truck?
I think we have a truck, so we'll be able to post it because we found that picture.
It was late in the afternoon, and actually the truck that we had that was lettered up the nicest look.
This was a white one, I think.
Yeah,
it was like white branding.
He comes back, and the roof of the box is like rolled back like a can opener. And I'm going, what in the world? And the driver comes in, and he's all hopped up, and he goes, "Oh, you're so lucky. You are so lucky." I'm going, "What do you mean I'm so lucky? If I hadn't hit that tree and I hit this car, and I probably would have killed somebody." He says, why would you hit a tree? You don't hit trees if you're in the road.
Yeah.
His story went on and on. That was his last day of work there. But he did serious damage to the truck.
Oh, it peeled the whole top.
The whole top back.
Which every moving company is going to experience that, unfortunately, at some point. And it's, that one's crazy. We had another one. This was when I was there. I think you were doing stuff for Shriners then, but he pulled the 94 out of someone's driveway and clipped 2 cars, pulling out of their driveway, and then blamed the 2 cars that were parked instead of himself. Yeah, that was the last day I had to let him go too, because if you can't accept, here's the thing, accept responsibility. I think that's the biggest thing. For one, accidents happen, but stupid accidents shouldn't. And especially if you do a stupid accident, you need to accept responsibility. And then the other interesting one is we had some guys getting some rumbles before at the moving company, right? And we have a couple guys go in the back of the truck and fight it out a little bit.
Yeah. So we had a big bank move going on. And probably 15, 20 guys out there moving up, doing a big bank move.
What's the time frame on this?
Late 80s.
Yeah.
Late 80s. Yeah, we had to do it after hours, so the guys had to come in. We had to come in 3 or 4 o'clock, and then we'd be down there at 5 when the bank closes and work till midnight. And a couple of guys, they got in a little rumble down there, a little mouthy with each other, and a little push and shove, probably not too appropriate.
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah. Their testosterone's a little high.
A little excited there. So the next morning, we had to go back to the bank again that afternoon. And I told these guys, I said, this is not acceptable. And they're still I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you, And I said, here's what we're going to do. You guys are not going to do this at the bank again. If you're going to get in a fight, it's going to be here. And so just, if you're ready to go, do it.
Oh, we got 20 guys standing out there watching
20 guys there are going, oh, look at this here now. So I said, hey, if you're going to do it, we don't really want to see it. I'll lock you in the truck over there, and you guys
in the back of the truck,
and fight it out. And when you're done, knock 3 times on the door there, and we'll let you back out. So the 2 guys, they crawled in there. Boy, they were ready to
beat the hell out of each other.
And so close the door, and boom, boom, boom. They're bouncing off the sides of the wall, and they're yelling, and finally, knock, knock, knock. So we open up the door.
Everyone's still saying, I'm a kid. I'm a child.
Cheer, hey, they're coming about, Well, they got rid of their anger.
They were able to work together?
Yeah, they worked together for many years after that. But it was always a story, if somebody
get locked in the back of the truck.
We'll lock you in the back of the truck if you can't get along. Not 3 times or you're done, So, but it just kind of set the tone that we don't accept that, and it set the tone that there's places to have your arguments, and it's not in the customer's place of business for sure.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's different times too. That's late 80s. That's it's interesting. And then we had the 2 guys one gets punched in the face because he can't. Yeah,
because it's a bit busy day. We're dispatching several trucks out of there. This one's back in the 80s too, and these guys are
angry back in the 80s. I don't know. I guess everyone's happy now.
I don't know. They didn't have cell phones or nothing. They just went out on the job and they were stuck out there, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we get them all dispatched, and you're doing several trucks. We dispatched them not based on teams, but based on what the job needed. So, little small job needed, maybe one guy, a driver, and one just kind of a new helper, you know.
Yep.
And they're going to move a mansion somewhere, and they need a driver and three
Sure.
or four guys, but they all need experience. So, but these guys got to one of those entitlement areas sometimes where I'm only working with this driver. You know, I don't want to work. I'm only working.
Yeah.
I said, well, it doesn't work that way.
We got to split you up.
We got to split you up, especially on a busy day. We got to spread the talent around.
But we got to do what's best for the customer.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
All about the customer. So anyway, three guys jump in the truck. They don't particularly want to work with each other that day, but they're going. They get in, and they pull her on the side of the building. They're going off to the job. About 5 minutes later, or not even that long, the three of them come walking around the side of the building. One of them with a bloody nose. So what in the world? What now? What's going on? And the guy with the bloody nose says, he wouldn't let me sit by the window. Three guys in a truck. They're in there fighting over
late 20s, 30s.
Yeah, late 20s, early 30s, fighting over who's going to sit by the window.
Yeah,
the window wasn't the real thing. They just didn't want to work
together
that day, you know. But we cleaned up his nose a little bit, put the three back in the truck, and they went and did the job. So there's just, you know, you deal over 38 years. You deal with a lot of.
There's so many stories. I mean,
a lot of success stories and a lot of friendships made, and it's good time.
Yeah, and talking about, I mean, we'll talk about a good one to kind of end it. So Gerald. So Gerald was, he's passed away now, but he was a real skinny guy, and he actually like became family almost. But he did he work for us before he got hit by a car?
Oh yeah. So we were real busy, and on real busy days, you know, we'd ask the guys, if you know somebody, if you got a good friend that can help us out for a day,
for office job, push boxes, something like that,
push dollies or something. Bring them in. So old Gerald comes in, and
Gerald's got to be in his 60s.
Yeah, he's a skinny guy,
100 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah, real nice guy, but skinny, and you know, not what your typical mover would look like. But he was,
man.
Yeah, but he was genuinely, very. He was a nice guy,
and he's funny, and he's peppy, and
so the guy, even though he wasn't really mover body wise, because of his personality, the guys all accepted him as part of the team, and they gave him the name Half Man because they said he only does half the work of a man. So, but he actually did a good job. He was able to do what was needed.
Yeah.
As a helper. And he eventually lived in one of our trucks for a little while. He didn't have a place to live.
Well, I mean, he got hit by a car. Yeah. He was on his bike or something, got hit by a car out in front of our warehouse or on Kennedy Boulevard somewhere. And
it worked, so we made him a little bedroom in the back of an old truck that didn't run, and he lived in there for a little bit. Yeah, and he got healed up. So.
But he worked for us for years and years, and I mean, he really was a good guy. And it's, I will say there was, you know, over the years, you probably had a handful of guys that had done similar in the sense that had lived in the back of a truck, and that was something that we always ragged you about, that your heart is too kind, which is amazing. Yeah. And it's something that we always tried to help people, and I think that was the big thing. And Gerald was a neat guy, and he used to come visit us after he
retired. But he had a unique personality in that even though he wasn't big and strong, he could get the job done.
Yeah.
But he had this personality that he could also push other people.
He'd influence other people. And he was an older guy.
And so older with a couple of younger guys that are strong, and he's with them. And the couple of younger guys are slacking. He'd give it to him. He says, "Come on, man, you can't keep up with this old man, you know." And he just
he'd laugh too, and he goes, "I'm going on a job for 3 today. Oh, 2.5 men, let's go." So that's neat. Well, cool.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a bunch of neat stories we've told, and there's so much that is yet to be told, as things that we did through J&J, and
well, hopefully there's some
history of it.
Experiences for other people to learn from. You know, don't get in too much debt. You know.
Yep.
Manage your thing. Think about buying some property that helps another cash flow and gets rid of your rent payment down the road. You know.
Yep. Well, and turns into your retirement.
Yeah.
Makes over time. And that's, I mean, in reality, the property for J&J that you bought originally back in the 80s is part of creating generational wealth, in the sense that is something you bought for $100,000. If we call it, with the building was what, $280 back then? $280,000 that literally is worth several $million now is a testament to the growth of real estate and how having the ability to be able to add real estate to your portfolio, add real estate to your moving company, and have the moving company pay for it is that important. Because in reality, a moving company, while it creates amazing revenue but it's hard work and it's all that stuff, that when you sell a moving company, the majority of the value in the moving company is the equipment, the jobs you have on the books, the accounts you have, and your crews and stuff like that. But it
grow like real estate.
It doesn't grow like real estate. So,
all right,
cool. All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
All right.